Alabama up to 7.5 after opening around 6.5 against the Aztecs. Total actually 8 at some spots. Total between 136.5 and 137.5. Justin, what say you in the South region?
Points and the over for me on this one, Eli. I really like San Diego State. I think that they will give this Alabama team the type of defensive effort that we've been waiting for them to have to overcome. We've seen San Diego State be very effective. They got it done in the last round. I like the points. I just, this is going to be one of the first real tests for this Alabama squad. I mean, they really lead so many of our metrics, number 1 in terms of offense, number 2 in terms of their rim and 3 rate, number 5 in terms of shot selection, number 1 in terms of spacing. They really just have a beautiful offense, and it's going to take a spectacular effort for San Diego State to get it done, but I think their rim protectors will really alter what Alabama's able to do and give them a shot to stay within the number. I'm not going to say that they're going to upset them. I think that, there's probably value on it, obviously. I actually have them as my leverage play in my bracket here to win this game, but I'll be taking the points, and I do think this game goes over. We have this at 146 and a half actually at shot quality, making the final score 75.4 to 71.4. So should hopefully be a pretty entertaining one. I do obviously worry about ever predicting San Diego State to score 71 points. So I get why the number is a little bit lower and why people think the spread's going to be a little bit bigger. It's probably, on the account of San Diego State being expected to score less. But their offense rated in the top 50 of shot quality. They don't take nearly enough threes, of course, but very effective at the rim. That's where they're going to have to win this game on both sides of the floor. I just think this could end up being a game that Alabama tries to survive instead of dominates. And in those scenarios, I definitely like the points.
No, and you can make the case that the spread is inflated because of what Alabama did to Maryland for sure. So, and to your point about 3-point shooting, and obviously that's a differential from the total. I mean, that's almost 10 points up from where the total is at some shops. But I do agree with it from the standpoint of you could get good shooting from San Diego State, and there are a couple of reasons why. You look at the first 2 games of the tournament for the Aztecs, 10 of 36 from behind the arc. So that might make you wary of San Diego State, on top of the fact that you already said it, that this team is extremely inconsistent offensively. You have one of 2 of the most, I guess I would pinpoint more so Matt Bradley, just because he has a higher shot volume, but shots, right. He and Trammell are both Jekyll and Hyde when it comes to offensive efficiency, especially from 3. But because Alabama plays drop with Bediako and Clowney, that's where you can get the swing, whether it's San Diego State covering or potentially winning the game outright because they shoot a ridiculous percentage of 3 and outshoot their normal efficiency by a ton with Alabama playing drop. That's the difference with a team like, and the other thing is that's, I go both sides on that because San Diego State doesn't shoot a high volume of 3s, but you would expect in a game like this where you kind of need variance to go your way if you're Brian Dutcher to game plan accordingly and to have it in your game plan to shoot 3s on drop, or else you're going to have zero chance of winning the game.
You can't trade buckets with this Alabama team and it's only be taking 2s. That's for sure. I mean, it's going to be a great one. I fully expect Alabama to advance. Honestly, I think the money line, if you really want to put it down, probably ends up being a winner. I don't think you're paying a good price, but look, this Alabama team is clearly, my opinion, the front runner right now to get this done, take home the championship. But this is probably going to be one of their toughest tests. And then hopefully they're facing, a couple other really tough teams. I have them seeing Tennessee in the Final Four. So I think they should be facing finally some really nice defensive efforts. Maryland, of course, look, they did okay. That game, ended as a 22-point win for Alabama. Shot quality expected only 12. So maybe a little bit of that blowout influencing the market a little bit. We did see this touch 8, as you mentioned. I did take a little extra sprinkle there. I played 7 last night, so I reinforced my position a little bit extra at 8, like I tend to do in those scenarios. But I don't know, shot quality only saying that this is like a 58-60% win rate for Alabama. So nothing's final in college basketball. I definitely think San Diego State will make a run. Will it be enough? I'm not sure, but I do think getting 8, 7.5 is pretty safe here. One of my favorite bets of the weekend for sure.
Yeah, and to your point, if the Aztecs can keep it close, it's not only with potential variance from 3 for them, also variance for Alabama, just because Alabama's a high volume 3-point shooting team too. So maybe you just get an off game. Before I get to San Diego State's defense here, I guess it kind of correlates. The Brandon Miller injury is going very much so under the radar. He has a groin issue, and the efficiency has not been there shooting wise. No. So when I speak to the high volume, no one's talking about that, man. I don't even think I heard it much on the broadcast with Maryland and Alabama. I don't think so. I wasn't listening to the game as intently as I was others on Saturday night, but it's concerning when you look at his efficiency, especially when you think about a potentially high variance team that takes a lot of threes like Alabama. But the ball pressure for San Diego State defensively could also play a big role in this game with Bradley and Trammell, two tremendous on-ball defenders against Quinterly and Sears that both can have their fair share of turnover issues. So it's kind of similar to UConn, right? How tight of a game are the refs going to call this? Because, a game that kind of reminds me of just that point is when San Diego State took on Arizona in the Maui Invitational, and they called Trammell for so many touch fouls in the second half. I was so mad in that game, watching that game. So it's going to boil down to how aggressive can San Diego State's guards be defensively.
Yeah, I agree. I'm checking out some of the numbers on Miller right now. Against Maryland, he took, I think, 14 shots. He had 21 possessions, 9 of them labeled good possessions, 5 of them labeled bad, puts him at the 61st percentile, while he has been performing, honestly, since like the Georgia South Carolina games. He was basically above in the top third of percentile ratings for the entire run. So you're right. There has been a little bit of a dip in efficiency. We'll see how it impacts their play here. Every shot's going to matter. If he's taken 20 shots and really not connecting and has a bad game, it's definitely going to be tough for them. Of course, he is, maybe one of the most impactful, best shot gravity players in the country. You have no choice but to really send defenders at him. And if they start to feel like his jump shot's a little bit weakened, maybe that groin is getting to him a little bit, and they're allowed to sort of, maybe not take him as seriously, close down the paint a little bit more. They doesn't, bring out some of those major defenders for some drives to the rim by auxiliary players for Alabama. That could make a pretty big difference. Of course, honestly, the catch and shoot for Miller is one of the most deadly weapons in all of college basketball. 133 catch and shoot 3-point attempts, rating in the 92nd percentile efficiency for any player's single shot type in the country. Also very, very potent off the dribble three, driving to the basket, short mid-range. What you really want to force Miller to is the right block, post up, the long mid-range, and any post up really. So get him down low, chase him off the 3-point line. Don't give him open shots. If San Diego State can do that and take away his most effective weapons, and also he has a little bit of an off night, I think that could open the door for a win. Otherwise, I'm really just looking for the cover. Give me those 8 points. Give me those 7 points. I like it.